In less than 24 hours, everything started to change in Mexico. The historic victory began to turn into a disaster. Because the question today isn't who killed the mafia boss El Mencho, the question is who benefited from his death. Many reports came out talking about American intelligence support for this operation, but immediately after that, America started talking about protecting American citizens. Doubts began to arise about the security of the 2026 World Cup, which is supposed to be hosted by Mexican cities just a few months from now. So what exactly is happening? Are we facing a major game and deception from Trump? Is what is happening today in Mexico just part of the plan to implement the Monroe Doctrine? We will talk about all of this today. A break and we'll be back. Stay with us. Dear viewers, peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings, and welcome to our new episode today, God willing, in this episode of the Opinion Series. Our topic today will be about this bloody chaos, about these dramatic events happening in Mexico. These are not ordinary events at all, and they will have very significant consequences for Mexico and the entire region. These events, of course, began when one of the most dangerous drug mafia leaders in the Americas, known as El Mencho, was assassinated by the Mexican security forces. The security forces in Mexico suddenly launched a security operation to arrest one of the wanted individuals. At that point, the leader of this mafia, called the Jalisco Cartel, which is considered the most dangerous and the most brutal drug cartel in the world, according to several international reports. This security operation eventually led to the surrounding the leader, El Mencho, and then to his complete elimination. So, politically speaking, this is considered a huge victory for the President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum. Why? Because she succeeded perhaps where all previous Mexican presidents failed. Sheinbaum came to power in Mexico in October 2024. The first thing she did was abandon the appeasement policy toward drug cartels. She gave up the idea that security is better than confrontation, and instead she chose confrontation. She entered into a war against all these cartels. So the first thing she did was this. The President of Mexico appointed someone who used to be the mayor of the Mexican capital, Mexico City, as Minister of Security and Civil Protection, and gave him all the security powers in the country. This person's name is Omar Harfouch. He is an Arab of Lebanese origin. The main role that Sheinbaum gave him is to fight the drug cartels. So since Omar Harfouch was appointed to this position, we're talking about just 1 year. More than 39,000 people connected to drug gangs have been arrested. More than 20,000 weapons have been confiscated, and more than 1,700 drug manufacturing labs have been destroyed. So when we talk about the President of Mexico, Sheinbaum, today, and we talk about this assassination, the leader, El Mencho's cartel, this is considered a very big political victory for him. We can say that it is a tactical victory, but the problem is what comes after this victory. The problem lies in the details that will come after that, because there is a serious crisis that Mexico is now entering, which may lead to a major strategic defeat for Mexico and for the President of Mexico, Sheinbaum. Does this mean that what happened in Mexico after the news of El Mencho's assassination spread is that everything in Mexico came to a halt? Everything in Mexico, especially in the state of Jalisco and in the city of Guadalajara, everything suddenly shut down. All the shops, gas stations, companies and so on closed or locked their doors, and the residents there stayed at home. Today, there is a terrible silence prevailing in these areas. All the streets have become empty. Why? Because they know very well what this incident means, what will happen after this incident. And indeed, it was only a short time before the devastating response came The gang members came out with all the power they had to cause widespread destruction to everyone. They carried out armed robberies on banks, burned cars, burned shops, and attacked the security forces. Dozens were killed and destruction was everywhere. Because we are speaking here so that everyone knows, we are not talking about ordinary gangs made up of a few individuals you can count on your fingers. We are talking about a parallel state, a state within a state. A gang that has enormous wealth, economic institutions, a real army, an army made up of tens or even hundreds of thousands of individuals armed with machine guns and even possessing military armored vehicles and drones and so on. They are spread throughout all areas of northern Mexico, that is, on the border with America. So some might ask, where do these gangs get all these weapons and military equipment from? The answer is from America. Because in all the southern US states, all types of weapons are sold completely freely. The gangs buy them from there, then smuggle them into Mexico across the American border. Even President Trump today can't stop this flow of weapons. Why? Because it concerns one of the biggest donors to the Republican Party in America. There is an organization called the National Rifle Association, an organization that brings together all private sector arms dealers. This organization forms a very powerful lobby in America, defending the freedom to spread weapons among individuals. This organization is the biggest donor to the Republican Party, meaning it is the biggest supporter of Trump in the elections. During the electoral cycle, so Trump cannot stand against it at all. He cannot prevent them from selling weapons to Mexican gangs. So the important thing is, we're talking about a fully integrated organization. Even today, when the leader El Mencho was assassinated, there was already another leader. There was already a successor to take over after him. That means the situation never ends just by eliminating the leader of this gang. There is always an alternative, there is always someone to inherit the leadership and power, and thus they ensure the continuation of the mafia's work after him. The American newspaper Wall Street Journal said that this gang had a pre-prepared plan to respond in case the Mexicans crossed the red lines, and the most important red line was the assassination of the leader, the gang leader. That's why this response came quickly and in an organized way, to the point that now Mexico is truly in trouble in the face of this chaos spreading throughout all areas of northern Mexico. What's dangerous today is that there are a number of reports saying that the assassination of El Mencho was carried out with the participation of the United States. What confirmed this as well is that the White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt admitted it, because she said that the United States provided intelligence information to carry out this operation. So this raises a lot of questions. Was this done under strong pressure from Trump? Has Mexico now been implicated, dragging it into a serious security crisis that America will exploit later? Why do I say this? Because immediately after this operation and after the chaos that swept the streets of Mexico, America turned against President Claudia Sheinbaum. Why? Because they accused her of being unable to impose security. America sent messages saying that there are American citizens in Mexico and there are tourists stranded in Mexico who need to be protected, and that this Mexican government is unable to protect them. In fact, more than that, there have also been widespread campaigns on social media talking about the 2026 World Cup, which will be jointly organized by America, Canada, and Mexico, and which will start only 3 or 4 months from today. Especially since the city of Guadalajara, which is witnessing these bloody events today, is the capital of this. The mafia. It is today one of the Mexican cities that is supposed to host World Cup matches for the citizens. So some questions arise. Will Mexico really be ready in terms of security to host this major global event? Or will Trump have a different opinion, maybe by pulling the matches from Mexico, distributing them to the US and Canada or something else? Today, we may be facing a conflict that's very different from how it seems. Perhaps it's America. The Mexican government was dragged into this security operation either to justify military intervention in Mexico or to remove Claudia Sheinbaum, who is considered a leftist politician rejected by Trump. So now America might have excuses to carry out its plans regarding Mexico. In order to implement the Monroe Doctrine, the Western Hemisphere must be American, and Mexico is the first country that must be American. This principle must be realized there. Under the Monroe Doctrine, Mexico must also be compatible with Trump's right-wing tendencies, because it shares a long border with the US. If there is significant interest in the north, meaning Canada, then there is even greater interest in the south, in Mexico as well, the southern border. So now it's clear that Trump will put strong pressure on the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, and he might even use pretexts for military intervention in America in the name of protecting American citizens from drug cartels. And he could go even further if these American citizens and tourists in Mexico are killed today by armed groups. Because America's admission that it was involved in the assassination of Mencho is not a random act. This means that this gang might kill American tourists in Mexico, or it might even send drones to strike the American border. At that point, Trump might use this incident or these events as a pretext and announce the deployment of forces in northern Mexico. If this scenario happens, it's certain that the Mexican government will reject this intervention and consider it a violation of Mexico's sovereignty. Therefore, a clash will occur between Trump and Sheinbaum, which Trump will use to remove her from office, just as he removed Nicolas Maduro from Venezuela. Therefore, at that time, America will confirm that the Western Hemisphere truly belongs to America. But the question now is, what will the next World Cup look like with all these changes and developments unfolding? Answer us in the comments below this video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Peace be upon you, and see you next time.